The RPM Podcast, starring Eric Brennan.
The tardiness, the sloppiness. My God, you've been coming into work hungover. Look, the truth is, you're nobody's first choice for this job. We're giving you one last chance.
Sam Ballard Jr.
You think I might screw up?
Scott Riggleman.
That's Scott. He's a dick.
Neil Rutt III.
Aren't you legendarily racist?
Nick Rendo.
It needs to be massive and long and wide.
Eric Graham.
I'm too shy to wear a crop top.
And Josh Matthews.
What the hell kind of people do something like this?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the RPM Podcast. We have a lot of ingredients in today's show, and I want to start off, most importantly, with a Wall Stadium Sunday Series racer who is joining us for the first time, and I'm talking about our very own Bailey Riggleman. Hi, Bailey.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Your dad was telling us you listen all the time. Is that true?
Yes.
I love it. Love it. And Bailey's dad, Tim, is here as well, fresh off a week in Myrtle Beach, helping out with Eric Goodale's spot. We'll be talking about that in a little while. How you doing, Tim?
Good, thank you.
Good to have you back once again. And as always, we got Josh Matthews here, putting everything together. What's up, Josh?
Not much.
Not much at all.
What do you want me to say?
And joining us from a very depressed North Carolina after the NCAA results this past week, we got Sam Ballard Jr. What's up, Sam?
Where's Justin Fontaine?
I know. Where'd he go? I'm glad you're back.
Dang.
It's
Sure
like
you are.
You were here last week, but not really. You were just kind of, sitting in the background, making that all happen. That was cool of you.
No, he
Thank
kept
you.
popping in and listening with his phone from another room, and then I was getting all these little ding-ding notifications throughout the freaking show. Thanks, Sam.
I'm like your wife. You don't know when I'm listening or when I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
You were the Stephen Wilson of our podcast because you took a step back to allow somebody to come in, take the spot. Now we're rewarding you by having you back. So thank you. Indycar fans will get that. And also, we got from the Edge of Divorce Motorsports Studios in Manchester, Scott Riggleman. What's up, Scott?
Hello, everyone.
How are you? I just realized 50% of this show is made up of the Riggleman Racing name right now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
For the moment.
So, also, we're expected to have young Blake Barney joining us after his NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour debut and 11th place finish. Something which Blake seems to do often, just show up in places and run quite well, just on the regular. So, we'll talk to him about that once he gets here. But we figured we'd start off with the national stuff that took place. And, of course, it was the end of the West Coast swing for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
That's a mouthful for you.
It is, always. And it seemed as though, leading into everything in practice. Practice, maybe not in qualifying because Harvick didn't win the pole, but best single lap speed in practice, best 5-lap average, best 10-lap average for Kevin Harvick. Despite the fact he was starting in the back half of the top 10, it looked as though Harvick had a legitimate shot at winning 4 in a row until we only got about 25 laps in, and he ends up in the fence after bouncing off the side of Kyle Larson. From that point forward, it was New Jersey's own Martin Truex Jr. that went on to win. California's got a reputation as producing some really incredible races and finishes and the tire degradation with the old surface. Didn't really see that this past weekend, but seeing Truex win was kind of cool.
I think the tires were going, because they were saying after about 4 laps, then the tires kind of hit this. I mean, they would drop off real quickly, and then they kind of plateaued and, slowly went away from there.
Yeah, the tires did, in fact, wear, but we didn't see any situations where people were on differing strategies. Everybody seemed to be on the same page all day long, and that kind of kept everything status quo. Scott, Martin Truex got back to his dominating fashion of 2017. This a sign of things to come for the rest of the year for him, or did he catch a break by Harvick getting caught up in that wreck so early?
No, I mean, that team's so strong coming off the championship last year. They're going to be stout all year, and I everybody's saying they got off to a slow start, but I don't really see it as a slow start. I think they're off to a pretty good start. I don't think they have the championship hangover or nothing like that. I think they're prepared and ready to go. And it was good to see their car owner at the track too after battling health issues last year. Barney Visser was there, so it was great seeing him on pit road and enjoying the victory lane. I just want to touch back on Harvick's thing. I mean, everybody's saying it's crazy that he wrecked on lap 25 in a 400-mile race. But he did explain it with the stage itself was starting to close. There was only a couple laps left of the stage, so he was battling for stage points. Are they really worth, crashing your car early in the race for. No, not really, but it does show you that these NASCAR drivers do have the stage points in mind, and they do race hard for them.
A lot of that may have to do with the fact that Truex had 19 stage wins last season, which kind of helped parlay him to the championship, which he celebrated at the end of 2017. And Harvick, who's been on a roll of his own, I guess he felt that every point kind of mattered. And unfortunately, he ended up with his number 4 car on the backstretch wall. Harvick did, in fact, take blame for that entire incident. And Tim, I got a question for you. As far as a vantage point, that wreck happened in an odd spot at any racetrack, the middle of the backstretch, where usually a spotter is positioned adjacent to that directly, usually atop the grandstands on the front straightaway. Is that the one and only spot where the driver's typically on their own and they kind of have full control of their own destiny and they can't really lean on you guys?
Well, for never spotting at that track, I don't know the answer to that particular spot. But if there's ever a blind spot that I have at a racetrack, when they're doing pace laps, I'll tell my driver, "You're on your own right here."
Oh, wow.
And then I'll remind him of that a couple times. You know, like I said the last time I was here, it's always, at the end of the day, it's always the spotter's fault. You know, they always blame the spotter, but you know, Kevin fessed up and said it was his fault. So, no, if straightaways aren't usually a problem, if that's what you mean, the backstretch it happened. I didn't see the race I was coming home from.
Right. Yeah, it was. It seemed like, see, at that particular track at Auto Club Speedway, and Sam, I may pitch this back towards you. Side drafting has become a big thing, not just at Auto Club, but even on mile-and-a-half tracks. I mean, it seems like that if you could perfect the art of the side draft, it increases your likelihood on making or completing a pass in a Cup Series race. And passing seems to be a big deal, Josh.
Well, I know you're going to address Sam on that, but I want to say I think that the side drafting thing is, I mean, that's become a common term as of, I'm going to say the past 8 years. I remember some race, Kyle Busch was on the backstretch of whatever track, and similar thing to the Harvick. They got he claims that they got sucked together from the side draft.
It was Daytona in July with Juan Pablo Montoya.
And I'm pretty sure
I'm trying to remember the year.
I swear, I just like when we saw Carl Edwards take out Brad Keselowski. Yeah, and they were talking about you could see the gloves move. I swear you saw Kyle's hands turn that car right into the side of Montoya.
Yeah.
But I mean, does it matter? Yes, but the side drafting doesn't actually help the car speed up. It slows the other guy down a little bit, which will help you try to maintain a position with him or fight with him. But
well, one of the things that they describe on the television networks about the effects of the side draft is it packs air on the rear quarter panel, whether it be the left rear or the right rear quarter panel, and like you said, it kind of acts as an aerodynamic parachute to slow that car down. Sam, is that an element of the sport that excites you? If you were to put yourself in the position of the average fan, is watching guys kind of lean on each other on a straightaway, is that exciting to you, or is it just something that has become a necessary evil in the product of stock car racing today?
I mean, I think that's something that I enjoy. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it took me forever to get into F1, because unless you were going to dive bomb the Mac Verstappen into the turn, there really wasn't anything going on.
That was Nico Rosberg.
It's all of them, Josh. But I mean, I remember growing up, and I remember them talking about how Greg Biffle used to master the side draft and stuff, especially at places like Auto Club. Greg Biffle.
Who's that?
Greg Biffle. Great question. But I remember he used to always cut down to the apron and cut back up, and I just thought that was so cool. I mean, to think that Auto Club's an actual D-shaped track, and you have guys trying to make the straightaway as straight as possible because that's the fastest way around. I don't know. I really enjoy Auto Club. I think it's our second oldest paved track we go to, and I really do think that it's a product of just the old track and what it's made to do, and that's to race and not follow the leader.
Well, actually, I want to tie this into our open wheel a little bit. There was, I forget how many years ago, because everything's becoming a blur. Eric, it's going to happen to you too as you get up there.
It's getting there already.
Anyway, Indycar at Auto Club Speedway. I think I don't know if it had a name then. It was just Fontana or whatever. They were kind of like debuting a new aero package to try to compete with the pack racing that we would see in NASCAR. and we had that big wreck on the front stretch. I forget it was one.
Oh, it was 2015 with Ryan Briscoe and Ryan Hunter-Ray. Where
Thank
Briscoe
you.
was
This
the
is
car
where I
that
need
got
Eric. But and then
that was one of the best races ever in IndyCar's history, and I think Graham Rahal got $25,000 for winning that thing.
Now, but the thing is,
which is nothing.
I would say, like kind of like Texas. It was a hell of a show.
Yeah.
And they were trying to make with the air kits a better racing package and put on more entertainment, but then all the drivers were freaking out saying, no, we don't like this because we don't want to flip. And I understand that, but in the state that IndyCar has been in, and everybody says, oh, Indy 500. I'm sorry. I think Texas is a much better race.
It turned out that they didn't go back to California that following year because of just how
insane it got.
They couldn't get a solid date out of it. I think the drivers were upset with how low the purse was, attendance wasn't there, and all this other stuff. Racing, though, I mean, that still goes down as one of the best races ever. California, though, may not, and it may have been what could have been if Kyle Busch and his team made the right adjustment on the final pit stop.
Yes,
a wedge adjustment is what they called for. However, it looks as though the crew member who was responsible for putting the wedge wrench in the back window went the wrong way. Scott, you typically end up working a lot of the times on your own stuff, but you got a couple guys that help you out. Is that something that has ever happened to you in your racing career where you call for a change and somebody goes the opposite direction on you?
Oh, yeah. It's happened. Yeah, I mean, if we're making changes in the pits, I oversee it or I do it myself so mistakes don't happen. But when I was racing the arch truck at Langley, I went on a win streak down there, and they had a pretty big bounty out on me down there. And we were leading in the race, but we were loose. And we had to come down pit road, and I told my cousin, Georgie, to, put some wedge in it, cranks, turn in the left rear. And he went the wrong way. He took it out.
Now, did you know? Did you know as soon as the car hit the track, said, no, something's wrong?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, the truck was loose to begin with, so we were trying to tighten it up. So I told him to put a turn in. When I went back on the track, it was more loose than it was before. So I know he went the wrong way. So I called back on the radio and I said, "Hey man, which way did you turn that?" And he told me. I'm like, "That's the wrong way. I told you to put it in." So then, when we got home, we made arrows up and wrote, loose, right, little things right there. But it does happen,
I'm sure Scott was a lot calmer on the radio than Kyle Busch was.
See, I'm thinking, Tim. Now, granted, you're not in a crew chief's position where you're aware of this stuff, but knowing how emotional a driver can get, would you even tell him in that type of circumstance? Is it your responsibility to make sure the driver knows what he or she is dealing with, or? Depending on how emotional they are, maybe it's the best thing to not tell them.
There's some things that happened over the years that I didn't tell them because it would make them more upset than they were. If it's a safety issue, you most definitely have to tell them.
Right.
But as far as a mess up on pit road, that's not my department. So I just tell, and if it does come out, I'm like, get up on the wheel. This is what we got for right now, and we'll fix it next time.
Tim, you said you wear I forget how many, but multiple radios in excess of 3, 4.
I wear 3.
3? Okay. Now, do you ever have direct communication with, say, like a crew chief?
We do have 2 channels.
Okay.
To switch over.
Now, my question for you is, has the call ever come to you with saying, all right, we did this to him, don't tell him? Because
no.
Because I had Eric Graham do that to me once. He purposely changed some air pressures on me. And just to see if it was in my head or not, what I was saying. And I wasn't sure if they would ever do that because sometimes, no, we're doing this, and if he's a real driver, he's going to,
That's usually something that the crew chief and the crew guys discuss.
Okay.
They probably do that on the second channel, and I don't even know it,
Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, just a bizarre set of circumstances to kind of continue the show of Furniture Row Racing kind of stepping up and outperforming Joe Gibbs Racing, despite the fact that they share a mutual alliance. And I guess Furniture Row just has an edge on them. And I'll echo something that Scott said. It was really cool to see Barney Visser in Victory Lane, especially knowing that he not only missed, the last few races of the year, missed the championship race in Homestead, also had to miss the awards banquet. Couldn't even celebrate the championship that his team had won. And now he finally gets to reap the rewards, in the first person. Something else that's been under fire, which is not on our list, but I want to portray it to guys who had a chance to see the race. So, Tim, I know you were in Myrtle Beach, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Fox's television coverage seems to be under fire a little bit, and I've stated publicly
Which part
before,
of it? Because I can open up my scroll here.
it seems to be all over the place. Everything from personalities to on-air talent to presentation.
To terrible graphics, which we'll
And-
show you right here.
As Josh will edit that in later.
Hang on, let me block half the screen.
I've said publicly before, if you want to compare the two NASCAR partners in terms of television right now, and granted, I have to watch what I say because you never know where things may go. I give the nod right now to NBC because they seem to present NASCAR as a legitimate sport. They seem to talk about it like it's a legitimate big deal. There's no gimmicks, no games, no funny business.
I agree with you, and I have a separate little side tidbit to this. If you look at smart TV apps, NBC has where you can watch replays of it. The Fox Sports Go app does not have replays of the races. You know, like you can watch live, and that's which is awesome and all. But NBC you can watch live, or you can watch it the next day. Give it after it's ended. Maybe not immediately, but shortly thereafter, you can watch it later. ABC doesn't have that. Not a whole lot of places do, but NBC does really put that out there.
Yeah, and if you watch the weekly program with like NASCAR America or whatnot, like you could honestly see how their presentation versus, say, a NASCAR race hub on Fox, NBC is treating it as if it's any other sport, NHL, hockey. If you watch on Fox, even when they have like the MMA shows for the mixed martial arts fights, that is different than what you see on Race Hub. Race Hub is more gimmicky, game show type stuff, and I don't think it represents a sport in a positive light. With that, I'll present it to all of you. And Scott, I'm assuming you watched the race from home, pretty much, like Josh, Josh, Sam, and I. Is the presentation a little bit askew on the Fox side, in your opinion, or is there nothing wrong with it at all?
You know what? I really don't watch it that closely where I complain about the coverage. I'm just happy there's coverage, period. I grew up when it was Wild World of Sports. We'd have to watch 20 laps, and then they switched to tennis or something. I'm just glad the race is on from green flag to checkered flag.
Hold on, Scott. Remember when we were kids, we used to go down to Mr. Buck's because he had that thing, that antenna that he could pick the races up from Delaware was the closest radio station. He had that big tower in his back.
That's the stuff we had to put up with. So
we
I'm
had to
just
ride
happy
our
to have a
bikes
channel that
a
shows
mile
it.
down the road to listen to some guy's radio that he could pick up Delaware in.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff we had to go through to watch races. So I'm just happy that it's on, And if they're talking about stupid stuff, I don't really pay attention to it. I just watch what's going on the screen itself.
Like tacos dropped on Denny Hamlin's car.
Yeah, I mean, this is going back from years. I mean, you always hear people aren't really happy with the coverage, and everybody has complaints. But it seems like people are willing to complain about anything. I'm just happy we got a show to watch.
For the most part, I agree with Scott. I will say from a more technical or production end, Fox seems to like what was it at Daytona last year in the truck race? The onboard cameras got the best shots of Kaz Grala and all that flip stuff that happened on the backstretch on like the last lap or two. Whereas the actual cameramen seem to be focusing on all the wrong stuffs or bits. It frustrates me because you'll see them go 3-4 wide, and then it's like, no, we're gonna go and switch to camera 7, which is this guy by himself or a crew guy just walking and sweeping something. It seems like they're focusing on the wrong things and they don't jump back, and you're like, but that's happening right there. Go back.
I did notice one thing I don't like yet: the helmet cam. I'm not really into the helmet cam.
What?
Really?
Yeah, because it's too bouncy. It's too bouncy. It's like watching the camera bouncing around. I would rather just have the in-car camera where it's held steady. I don't know why it has to be
I'm a fan
on
of
the
that
helmet.
because I could show somebody who hasn't been in a race car before and say, look at what these guys are actually dealing with. And like, they get a first-person perspective of it without actually, because everybody on the outside, like I got a coworker who I love and respect dearly, my buddy John, who said he would come on because he's been an automotive mechanic for years. And he says, I feel like NASCAR's too easy. And I'm like, no, that's because you don't get it. And the only way that somebody's going to be able to get it is to see it in that light, and that helmet cam gives that perspective.
I know your head bounces in a race car because I've been in a race car.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You've been there before.
Still,
Yeah.
All right, now, Eric, I'm with you on this for both IndyCar And for NASCAR, I would love to see
IndyCar's
one in
amazing.
F1, but you'll never see that happen.
Well, it'd be like looking out a window with a split pane, just
All
like
right.
it's now with the Halo.
Can we fight about that a little bit later?
Yes, Sam. Presentation on the Fox side. A lot of people on social. I heard Fox Sports host Colin Cowherd say today that social media is nothing but a one of those funny mirrors that you look into at a church, like a carnival or something. Like a church bazaar or something like that. Like, it's not a realistic reflection of what society sees things to be. Everybody wants to complain about personalities, whether it be the Waltrip brothers, Jeff Gordon, Mike, whoever. Not attacking individuals here, but the presentation of the sport as a whole on the Fox side. Is it something that you think could be improved? Does it bother you? Do you watch the race on mute and throw on MRN? What do you do here?
Yes.
And I had a feeling.
Besides the point, Eric Brennan, first off, if you followed me on Twitter at Sam Ballard Jr., any of my social media, you would know that I hate the new graphic for Fox.
Thank you.
However, as a rookie NASCAR fan like myself, I love it because it's so simple and it doesn't move. So, for example, if I want to see my boy Jeffrey Earnhardt finish last every race, I can look at the bottom of the scoreboard that doesn't move on the screen, and he's always going to be in the same spot. How convenient is that?
Are you saying he's always going to be in last?
Not next week. He won't be in the field.
No, he's not even last next week. He won't be in the field. But that's besides the point. But I just think it's really cool that it's there. I think it's a huge eyesore. But
Sam, can we agree that if they move, you can learn the guy's number, and get rid of the name and shrink that graphic a bit?
I wouldn't do that for. You're always trying to recruit new fans. I mean, it's
besides the point.
What if we did it temporarily? Because you know how sometimes you'd have that doodling, back on the ESPN days, and then the thing would come up, and then it would doodling and go away. Could it
I think all they have to do is just adjust the video picture to the size of the window they're going to leave it as.
I agree with Eric. Do similar to what ESPN does with the whole Sports Center thing. They have that huge column on the right hand side. And
that's actually going to shrink it even more than where you're at. Yeah, unfortunately,
but most people have 60
size doesn't matter.
TVs now. So
I want all. I'm not going to say it.
Being the fact there is so much criticism on it, it'll be interesting to see if it changes at all going forward. And obviously, Formula One's right around the corner. IndyCar is in the midst of some testing, so this is a very heavily NASCAR-centric production that we're putting here together. So we're going to talk about a couple more things, one of which I thought was interesting, and I thought of Josh right away. Jeff Gluck of jeffgluck.com did his weekly 12 questions segment with Kyle Larson.
About time.
If you ever heard how Josh feels about Kyle Larson, you'll understand.
That guy's face makes me want to punch it.
Yes. That's pretty much something that Josh said about Kyle many times. And believe it or not, it was one of the questions on the 12-question format for Jeff Gluck. And it was Jeff asking Kyle Larson, who do you think has the most punchable face in NASCAR? And this is not – you can go back about 20 episodes in the RPM podcast. Josh has been saying this for years, so I think Jeff Gluck's a listener to our show.
Must be.
But ironically, Stenhouse's reply, Larson's reply was that it's Ricky Stenhouse because apparently they got so drunk the night following the Knoxville Nationals that they started punching each other. So
but then he almost recanted that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens. That was my St. Patrick's Day.
But then he changed it from Stenhouse to, he said, even
himself, because I guess he took a bigger shot. So, Sam, have you ever gotten so drunk that you punched somebody?
No, but Bailey, take note. This is why you don't drink.
I have a most punchable face in NASCAR. I don't think it's Larson or Ricky Stenhouse. Mine would be Brian France himself. I'd love to punch that guy in the face.
And the
we should
crowd
have goes drivers.
Wild.
Yeah. You would have a lot of support for that.
I was just thinking back to my St. Patrick's Day because I ended up in a local sports pub, and I think my friend Sean and I were punching each other. But it was a good time. I hope everybody had happy.
Were you standing at the urinal at the time, Eric?
No, that was beforehand. That's when the pictures were taken. So,
hey, does it have to be a cup driver?
Probably not. NASCAR is all 3 series. So,
Noah Gragson, I hate that guy.
Well, he's asking everybody out on dates all of a sudden. I mean, that's his new thing. He went after Lindsey Vonn, then he went after Steve O'Donnell's daughter.
Do you want to know what's sad? Because we had Justin Fontaine on the show, I'm sure half the Camping World Truck Series guys have heard the show now. Noah Gragson, if you're listening, I won't even go on a date with you. Clean your crap up, man. Clean it up. And your hair.
Does he have better
is
hair than Blaney?
what does it matter? It's not the size of the hair. Good golly.
Oh my goodness. Now
it's not the what?
Aside from the funny questions, NASCAR's been trying to do a lot of different things in order to try to spice up the product of the show. And one of the things they attempted to do in last year's All-Star race was an option tire, which we see in open wheel racing all the time.
I thought that was a cool idea. I don't think it was implemented properly, but I think it was a really cool idea. It just needed to be tweaked a little bit. Scott, what did you think of that tire option rule at the last All-Star race?
I'm not really familiar with it. What was the tire option rule?
It ended up being a softer compound tire that was available to certain teams. However, the implementation of it did not seem to end up being rolled out. Like you had to be in a certain running position or to be able to put on the softer rubber or something like that. And
didn't they pull an envelope or no? That was a different. Oh God, because I remember at one time they inverted, and Michael Waltrip would open an envelope and. The top 11 or something like that would flip or whatever. And that was another cool idea about you could pit and get 2 tires, but you would have to start towards the back. And the guys that stayed out, and it was going to be really interesting. I think they needed 4 tires, unfortunately.
I kind of like that idea for an all-star race. I wouldn't want to see it every week, but I think it's cool for an all-star race to try to mix it up a little bit. I remember when I was a kid, with the modifieds and Richie Evans and Stefanik and all those guys racing the Thompson 300, they used to do that in the modifieds. There wasn't really tire rules back then. They would run a hard tire for the first 250 laps because, it would last and wouldn't blow out. Then the last 50 lap, they used to call them gumball tires. They'd throw on 4 soft tires and go for it the last 50 laps of the race. So
we still do that once in a while.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to say it's the NASCAR series because I go to so many tour races, other tour races there. But there was definitely
I like it for an all-star race, but I wouldn't want to see that on there every week basis. But for
I agree. I think for the all-star race, it's a fun way to change things up. And I know Nick Rendo was in love with the idea because it was kind of shades of F1. And they have.
Is F1 the ones that have the red and black tires? Is that what you're referring to?
I think IndyCar has red and black. Formula One has yellow, purple, white. Help me out here.
They got a bunch. They got a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I think there's a new one this year, Hypersoft. They have ultra soft, hypersoft, soft, medium.
But however,
rain.
Scott, F1, the FIA chooses the selected compounds for each weekend. So they don't have all these compounds at the track with them. They have 3 or 4 plus the rain tires that they can choose from. And they only have a certain amount of each set.
Yeah,
before they go to the weekend.
They can pick one set of these hypersofts and then do 4 sets of softs or things like that. But they have to kind of pick ahead of time. Now there might be a little bit of leniency in wet weather. Everybody's allowed obviously a set of wet tires in the event of rain. But it's kind of a weird system that you don't get to choose, last minute. You have to sign up. So if, hey, they're going to repave this track, you plan for that. Basically, as Eric's lost in thought.
I'm sorry. I was checking my phone. The point of this
Did
all
Stephen
is
Reed
that
text you back yet?
Not yet. Stephen, I'm waiting. I wish you a happy birthday. Also, happy birthday to Dan Thomas of RCDU.
He's texting me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because you're his number one. The reason behind this, a Goodyear Racing executive said to Daniel McFadden of NBCSports.com that the softer option tire will not be used in May's All-Star race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but the idea of it in the future is not a, quote, dead issue. But
why?
Well, I guess they would want to see if they can roll it out into competition as they go forward.
I think it just was wrongly implemented for that race. It just needed to be tweaked.
Well, that's not the road that they're going to go down for now with the All-Star race. In fact, we don't even know what type of track the All-Star race is going to be on. They haven't announced that just yet. I say try the Roval for it, just to see what happens. They're supposed to be doing some testing today.
There's going to be no passing.
Hey, I heard the testing from my office today. It didn't sound like they were giving a lot of gas. And besides the point, I don't understand why they want to risk something as big as the All-Star race for the Roval. I think the Roval is going to be
at this point, what do you have to lose? An All-Star race hasn't been memorable or exciting since, 2000? 2004.
Maybe they're really thinking outside the box. Maybe they're going to have it across the street at the little dirt track.
Please, God, answer my prayers. That would be the greatest thing to happen to this sport. You have no idea. And some silly season news. Landon Castle has been tagged to replace Jeffrey Earnhardt in the StarCom Racing number 00. Jeffrey was a favorite of the RPM podcast. Looks as though we're not sure where he's going to end up.
I think Scott is devastated.
That's a tough break for all of us. Also,
I mean, when these small teams start out, I do like them sticking with the same driver all year and see where they're at. I mean, they lasted the West Coast swing, and now Landon's getting in the car.
Landon is a fantastic race car driver. He's more marketable than Jeffrey Earnhardt. All the NASCAR fans can fight me all they want, but I think Landon Castle is overall a better choice for StarCom.
I mean, Justin, our guest last week, was saying how great Landon is with the social media and Landon sponsors. So I'm sure his expertise there definitely helped him land this job. I hope the team can improve with Landon Castle and the sponsorship he brings. I think it's just a 2-race deal for now, but it gets Landon back in the race car, gets Landon back in the Cup garage, and it also gets StarCom to the next 2 races. So we'll see what happens.
And some publicity.
Scott's correct. The deal will be in place at least for Martinsville and Texas, the next 2 Cup Series races. Also just announced tonight on the aforementioned NASCAR Race Hub, RCR driver in the Xfinity Series, Daniel Hemrick, will be making his Cup Series debut in a Richard Childress Racing number 8 car at Richmond in April. Sam, you love the Smoky Mountain paint scheme.
Well, first off, I think tobacco's nasty, and if you smoke, you're dirty.
It's not tobacco, though.
Yeah, it's herbal snuff.
Yeah, it's an option to tobacco.
Regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm just kidding.
Because remember, they banned the tobacco sponsors in 2010 when Redman and
that
Longhorn
recently? I
were,
thought it was longer.
Yeah, because Longhorn was Hornaday's sponsor, Redman was Biffle's sponsor in the then Nationwide Series. So
Smoky Mountain was also Ron Hornaday's sponsor. He brought them into it, and they're slowly becoming a sponsor that's been around for a while. They don't do full seasons and stuff, but they've been in motorsports and NASCAR for a while now, and they're turning into a great little sponsor. It's good seeing them getting
I'm sorry, Scott. I think the idea of having a primary sponsor for the last majority of the season, I think that idea is over. I think these NASCAR teams are realizing now they got to start piecing their seasons together instead of saying, hey, give me 29 races this season. Great. $7 million. Boom.
Did they say which race this car is for? The car looks awesome. It's the number 8. Do you know how many races Daniel's doing in this? Or
I believe NASCAR 9.
What's that?
Go ahead, Sam. What were you saying?
I believe he said he's doing 9 races for them.
Oh wow, that's a long stretch. There.
I might be wrong.
The debut race will definitely be at Richmond in April. Which, you know what? I'm excited for Daniel because I haven't seen a guy like back in the day. We used to see guys like Brian Vickers, Kyle Busch, kind of come on up and get that entry in that additional car to a powerhouse team. We haven't really seen that lately, so I'm happy to see somebody get the nod and get brought up slowly like Hemrick is, and that might be his opportunity. And RCR has shown a little bit of speed so far this season, so let's see what Hemrick can do. He's been carrying the banner in the Xfinity Series so far. So
now I'm going to throw this question out to you guys. Now, do you think a deal like this would have been put together if there was full fields in the Cup races, or do you think this is a deal that was put together because there's extra spots available in every Sunday race now?
Sam's shaking his head no. I'm going to say it would have anyway because Hemrick seems to be the guy that RCR is willing to build themselves around outside of the Dillon brothers. So, which is something they haven't had in a while at RCR.
First off, I love the number 8. It's my lucky number. Glad to see it's being used again. Second off, I
heard
lied.
you like the number 8 because it reminds you of a cute little snowman. I heard that's why you like the number 8.
Right. Yeah. Geez, Scott, man, you're quick on your feet. Second off, I lied. He's not only, as of right now, he's only doing Richmond. And thirdly, I think that this deal only came together because I think Smoky Mountain, you mentioned beforehand about their sponsorship. I'm sure they wanted to move up. And I think it's a guaranteed start for RCR to team up. I mean, Richmond is it's towards, was it the middle of the season?
April.
Is it
in April. Yep.
All right. Towards the middle of the season. And I just think it's a great fit for him. I mean, I think Daniel Hemrick is one of the talented guys moving up. And like what Eric said, the car looks great. RCR is on a string of good luck, minus, the loss of Paul Menard, who's been kicking ass in the 21 this year.
Yeah, he's been running very well.
Besides
now, what do you guys think about them choosing the number 8 for this car? Would you rather see him with a traditional Childress number like the 33 that he's run in the past, or the 29 even? It's kind of weird they went to the 8, which is.
I thought they would have rolled out the
Earnhardt
33. The 8 was surprising to me, and I'm not sure if that's a personal request on Hemrick's part but it's, you know what? It's going to be nice to see another single digit on track that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, the 8 hasn't been in action since, 2008, I think it was. Maybe the last time we saw that car on track. I don't know.
You're the stats and memories guy, Eric. So
I thought wasn't it 2009? Didn't Eric Amarillo run the 2009 with an 8?
I believe you're correct. Yeah, for a part-time season.
The Army car after Mark Martin went over to the 5.
Bill Weber used to say on NBC, you don't have to look it up because we already did, even though we didn't. But lastly, we'll tie up the racing stuff with the fact spec motors in the truck series has been a big topic of conversation on our show to start off 2018. Triad Racing is apparently selling their engine shop. Josh, Scott, I'm not sure which one of you wanted to weigh in on this. But
I threw it in there. I don't know a whole lot about it because I can only suspect that this whole spec motor thing is. I mean, it's kind of interesting. And it's good for the teams in that it's a little bit more affordable, lasts a bit longer. The power is proving to be there, and we look at that from the competition and the team side, and that's great. But then sometimes you forget about the guys that make their living off of building these motors. And
the Triad Racing, that was basically the B program if you wanted to run a Toyota. If you couldn't afford the full Toyota deal, you got a Triad, build your engines. And they built more engines for, say, the Truck Series than they did the Cup Series. So I'm pretty sure that them seeing NASCAR going to a spec engine in the lower teams in the truck division that were running Toyotas were going to switch to the spec engine. I'm sure they seen it coming, that was pretty much going to put them out of business,
Sam's forehead. Do you have anything to say about this?
Hey, Sam, what are you doing?
That's like a 5 head.
Unlike some 7 heads we've seen in our time.
I'm trying to inform our listeners on actually what's going on here. And it says here, as per AutoWeek.com, that Brett Moffitt won in the number 16 a few weeks ago in an OEM engine Toyota Triad truck. But what you guys
I'm
are
not saying their product wasn't good. I'm just saying that, with
numbers aren't there. They're not selling enough to stay in
right.
business.
And I wanted to make sure that was the case, and that is true as per AutoWeek.com. Don't have to look it up because I already did it for you.
There you go.
I'm sensing a theme here.
There's some rumblings from Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal that NASCAR may be looking at different options for racetracks when these 5-year sanctioning agreements that they had in place runs out. We'll talk about that at another date as more rumors and information begins to come out. But I think that puts a bow on the NASCAR stuff. The Xfinity Series is off for a couple weeks so they get to Texas, and the Cup Series and Truck Series will be in action this coming weekend at Martinsville Speedway. Hot dogs for everybody.
Hey, real quick, good luck to our friend Justin Fontaine, who's coming up in Martinsville if he's racing. Good luck to him.
Hey, he can finally report back to us about the hot dogs.
If he's he will be racing, and he will do well. He will get his 3rd top 10 in 4 starts, and as Robert Miller once said,
"Don't jinx it, Eric."
You heard it here first.
Well, before we leave on this, the Martinsville race, it usually draws some Cup drivers to the trucks, like Kevin Harvick and stuff. Is any the Cup drivers going to race in the truck division?
I haven't seen any.
No, not even Kyle Busch or anybody?
No. The 51's got I think Todd Gilliland's in the 4 truck. I'm not sure who's in the 51. I will look that up, and I will try to filibuster as best I can for my webpage to load, but it's probably going to work.
I got you, Eric. Fun fact, Todd Gilliland has a sexy hauler for that number 4 truck. I saw on the back of KBM last week when I was up in Mooresville. Sexy hauler.
I'm going to need you to talk a little bit more. I'm not ready
what
yet.
color?
I'm close.
What's the main color on that, Sam?
It's a pedigree. I think it's black, but it has pedigree and stuff on it. I don't know why I brought that up. I thought Eric would be quicker than he is.
So
However,
even for the Kyle Busch Motorsports team, we got Todd Gilliland in the 4. Then your usual cast characters for KBM, guys who are going to be competing for the championship like Noah Gragson. In the 51 this week, Harrison Burton, who got a big late model win at the Rattler 250. after knocking Jeff Choquette out of the way in the last corner of the
Great
last
race.
lap.
Great race.
So, no, it looks like we're not going to have – and, Scott, as we were talking about off air, the entry lists have not been updated yet. They show David Gilliland in the DGR Crosley number 54. That's actually going to be Kyle Weatherman in his Truck Series debut. So I think if you're going to look for a race to watch on the weekend, the Truck Series race at Martinsville is going to be wide open.
Hey, on another side note about the Martinsville truck race, a lot of times why you see the younger kids in the trucks in the Martinsville truck races because they have to run a half-mile track before they can run the bigger track. So a lot of them got to go there for NASCAR approval. It's a place where the rookies start out, and if they run well there, then they get approved for, like, say, Charlotte, the mile-and-a-half track, and then they run good at Charlotte on the mile-and-a-half track, then they get approved for even a bigger track, like a 2-mile track of Daytona, 2.5-mile track at Daytona. So maybe that's why some of these top guys step aside from Martinsville and let the young guys get in so they get their NASCAR approval.
I don't understand why they're not racing under the lights yet at Martinsville.
That would be awesome,
for the
wouldn't it?
trucks.
Especially
they
the
have the
Truck
lights
Series,
now.
yeah.
It should be a night race. I agree with you 100%. That place would look so cool lit up. I mean, I remember Tim might even know. I think it was like 7 or 8 years back. The modifieds race there under lights, under portable lights, and it was a pretty cool race.
Yeah, that was fun.
I can see all those tow behind little portable generator light stands.
Oh yeah,
that's what they used when the modifieds were right. Tim, that was all portable lights, right? It was Musco.
It was Musco.
Lights.
They weren't little. They were big.
Yeah,
and they were hot. They was right above the spotter stand, and it was hot.
It's like your own personal tanning bed up there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well,
you know why though? But it might not be a race, night race, because of the time of the year. It might still be getting cold down there in March.
Yeah, you got to wait till summer.
Yeah. So they probably race it during the day.
If you don't want to party, your ass got to go. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, that's my motto.
And we had to go.
Yep, and we are going to go. But we're coming back. We're going to take a break real quick. A little bit of open wheel stuff we're going to dab into to get you all set up for the F1 season opener. Also, Indycar did some testing today. We'll tell you what happened there. And then we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about on the local side. Hopefully by then, our buddy Blake Barney will show up after his hockey banquet, after he wraps up that chapter of his life and career and focuses more on the racing stuff, which, if you ask me, that kid's got a future in the racing stuff.
So he used up all his speed at the races.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Not getting to Scott's.
Also, we got Tim Riggleman here, who's down in Myrtle Beach as well. We got some World Karting Association stuff coming up, weather permitting, for me at least. Sam, you're there already. The race is going to go off without a hitch. May have to go off without, Eric, myself, and Bobby Radavoy, but we'll see. And a whole bunch more. So you listen to the RPM podcast. We got Bailey Riggleman, we got Tim Riggleman, we got Scott Riggleman, we got Sam Ballard Jr., we got Josh Matthews, and I'm just some guy named Eric Brennan. We'll be right back.
Please come back.
Hey everyone, do you know the difference between Bob Ross and Eric Brennan? Bob Ross has talent.
He had hair too.
That too, Josh. Now back to the show.
I'll have you know that's the first time I've heard that, and I'm highly offended. Highly offended. I don't have hair, but I think I'm somewhat talented. Maybe not in this whole talking business. I can't draw to save my life, though. Not at all.
I'm sorry about that. I sounded awful on that.
You sounded good. You just abused me. That was Sam Ballard Jr. and
passing the blame, throwing him under the bus.
The person that he was talking smack about is myself, Eric Brennan. We also got Bailey Riggleman, who is a Wall Stadium Sunday Series champion. Her father and spotter on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Forever Goodell. Tim Riggleman is here. We also have Wall Stadium Factory Stock champion, a multi-time race winner in multi-divisions, Scott Riggleman here as well, and Josh Matthews.
Howdy. Why are you touching my laptop?
I'm doing it accidentally. It looks as though the driver who finished 11th in the Wheel and Modified Tour race on Sunday down in Myrtle Beach, Blake Barney.
Is it Wheeling or Whalen?
I say Wheeling.
I always say
they
Whelan.
pronounce it Whelan too. I like it Whalen, but they pronounce it Whelan too.
I think Whalen's with an A. I think it'd be WHALEN.
Yeah. Whatever.
Like a girl I went to school with, I think it was Kerry Whalen. It was WHALEN.
And just to put it out here, the emergency light on my tow truck, the tow truck bar, is a Whelan emergency light. And it's a $2,000 light, so I got to be real careful.
I know the indoor guys.
Wait, did you have to pay separately for it to be installed, or did you install it, or how did that work?
I mean, it came with the truck. I mean, the truck was $86,000, but when you do look at the breakdown list, it does show that the Whalen light is $2,000. So yeah, I did have to pay for it.
I think you could buy 3 factory stocks for that.
But
if you buy from a certain person.
It's a great light. It's visible from very far away. It doesn't break. It works all the time. And the lenses are super tough because they do hit branches a lot when you lift the bed up and slide the bed back in people's driveways and stuff like that. And the lenses are super tough. It's a great product.
That's
Google
awesome.
says it's Wayland.
What, they have it phonetically spelled as Whalen?
No, Google Translate pronounce it Wayland.
You're going to believe
Yeah,
that?
but I mean,
I wouldn't trust that. Sam.
Why don't you ask Siri while we're at it?
Alexa.
Yeah, but I mean, during the NASCAR coverages, they say wheeling, you know.
Yeah, but when it's like Michael Waltrip talking, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
Those irrelevant announcers.
But just by me being in the tow truck industry, I mean, they make great products. They're one of the bigger names out there in that industry, and the lights they make for the tow trucks are awesome.
That's a boat that I missed on in terms of making a business child, but Whelan's got me covered, or Whelan, depending on how you look at it. So, nevertheless, thumbs down to you, Sam. And with that, moving on.
What did I do?
Usually, I don't know. You're making fun. You're mean. You're a bully. Usually we talk about the open wheel stuff going on. Formula One's about to kick off this upcoming week, and ESPN's going to begin their the rights to their television coverage. Really, I think we're going to withhold, especially without Rendo, we're going to withhold judgment on the Formula One season until it actually gets underway. I think we're going to see more of the same with Mercedes and Ferrari kind of being the upper echelon of the F1 class. If I'm completely wrong, I'll put my foot in my mouth next week on the RPM podcast, but we'll talk about that when that time comes. Indycar was testing at Barber Motorsports Park actually today on the March 20th. What?
You're just going to get off F1 that quick?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Pretty much. What do you got?
No, it's in the dock. I'm looking at it.
I totally missed that.
The fans have been, supposedly some fans are complaining that they can't identify the drivers because the halo is blocking their view of the helmets.
Oh, God.
I'll give them different color halos.
Tell them to read the program. Buy a program.
And now here's where I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but I had trouble identifying them without the halos.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was worse with just paint the halos a different color. Make one white, one black, and then we'll know. Give a spotter's guide out and let that be that.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's a dumb thing that it's where they're trying to find anything to complain about. But I just wanted to bring that up and let them have their moment. I don't know. Again, the names were. The numbers have gotten a little bit bigger on the cars. Mm-hmm. That's a product of Liberty Media.
Right.
And was a livery. Damn you, Sam.
That would have made more sense.
Livery Media. There you go. But outside of that, they've always been more difficult to identify because you always have team cars until they have standalone cars or paint each driver's. Let the drivers have individual sponsors or something like that. Maybe I don't know. There's this prestige or something, and it gets frustrating.
But you know what? The halo is designed for driver safety, so it outweighs everything. If it's
I
blocking
agree.
people's view of the driver and they're not identifying their driver because of a halo, then
nuts to them.
Halo,
not cashews, though.
Right. As some people would say,
Right.
that would be a you problem.
We need the halo in that sport to save drivers' lives, and that's the bottom line. I don't care what it blocks view or what fan doesn't know what, but you need a halo on those cars.
Tell them to get binoculars.
Also, looks like the big question of the year is going to be if McLaren will continue to have the reliability issues they had last year. Obviously, they switched away from Honda.
I think they had a rough start with practice or testing.
Trouble in preseason testing.
But I think because people were saying with Truex not winning right off the bat, but we talked about a week or so ago how takes a few weeks for the teams to kind of gather some of the data, from what's been going on, and then implement that from the way the cars are built, because they have like the first X amount of races cars built for that race.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out once the teams get to Australia. Race scheduled to go green a little bit after midnight on Sunday morning. I believe that's going to be March 25th. IndyCar news, they were testing at Barber Motorsports Park today. Elio Castroneves, in his first chance, get behind the wheel of the new body car.
How old is he now?
40,
Ooh.
give or take.
I'm 44. 40s, he's still young.
You have power steering.
However,
Sometimes.
Elio was in the top 5 in the speed charts. In fact, Penske looked to be back to their old ways, but then again, Ray Hall Letterman kind of dominated preseason testing, and they really didn't show up that well, except for Graham finishing second late in St. Petersburg. So we'll have to see if that parlays and any results we're going to see going forward.
If the Letterman team wins, can we do a top 10 the following week?
Yes.
Okay.
Put it in the books. And Pippa Mann announced Indy 500 ride with Dale Coyne Racing, a team that she's been partnered with over the last couple of years.
I'm a Nora Pippa man. I Instagrammed her regarding the Kart Week Daytona race, and she never got back to me.
Did you ask her on a date, Sam?
No, my name's not Noah. But I know a guy.
Has Pippa Man been racing a lot, or has she been out of the car a while? Or
I feel like all she does is the Indy 500 every year. That's
really?
it.
I mean,
and she usually crashes at least once a month.
Racing once a year. You just can't do it.
But I think she's got one wreck under her belt for every month of May that she's competed in. I think. I can go back and research that. But
you just can't race once.
Hi, Nancy.
And expect to do anything.
The other half of Edge of Divorce Motorsports is kind of peeking over the shoulder of her husband.
You want to sit
Scott.
in for Blake Barney for a little bit?
Yeah. Blake kind of stiffed us. We're just kind of like sitting here.
We're not doing so hot with guests. I mean, Jimmy blew it 4 weeks in a row, didn't show up. Blake Barney, I thought Blake Barney was a definite. They asked us if he could be on. Robert Barney asked me, hey, we want to put Blake on. And Fancy Nancy just declined on us, and she's here, and she don't want to sit in with us. Thank God for Bailey Riggleman. Bailey Riggleman showed right up on a snow day.
I was going to say Nancy's actually the outlier because all the other people know that I hate, fenderless race cars.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, Bailey drives a Champ Kart at Wall, and Bailey, you just thought obviously, Uncle Scott races, Tim. But did you race, or you always been a spotter?
No, he told us that story about, I think it was New Egypt when he hopped in a car and they said no more.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been part of race for a while. What made you want to drive?
Well, my whole family has been racing, and I wanted to keep the tradition going.
And you're doing a good job at that. Rookie of the Year and champion in your first year. And what is it, a junior champ car class on the Sunday Series? Is that
junior sportsman?
I forget what they call it.
Yeah.
There's a technical term for it.
I need my light.
Yeah.
Do they have as many cautions in your sportsman division as they do in the bigger sportsman division?
No.
No? Okay.
Third in championship standings last year. What are you looking for this season?
To win a race.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking for too, but I need Josh to let me drive his car again.
It's all yours.
I didn't do so well when I tried to race. Now Bailey's not the only local racer who's in the house, or at least not the only local person connected to some of the races that's been taking place as of late. Tim, you were down in Myrtle Beach this past week spotting for Eric Goodell. Eric got 7th in that. Now, I try to follow that race through the NASCAR home tracks, Twitter feed, and social media accounts, and it seemed wild, like really wild. Like the running order was shuffling like crazy.
Everybody was on different tire agendas.
Really?
Short pitting, because the track is so rough, it wears the tires down fast.
Mm-hmm.
So some guys, put one tire on, and you can only change one tire at a time.
That's right. I forgot they implemented that rule in the Modified
So you had to go
Series.
back around. Some guys only took one. Some guys took two, so they went back twice.
Wait. What was the reason for implementing this rule?
For cost, just to try to reduce guys from
I'm
buying.
saying it's certainly not safety if you have to make them come down and have people jumping over the wall, 4 times.
It seems to be primarily a cost-saving effort.
Now, Scott, is this the...
A smaller team doesn't need a bunch of crew guys to change one tire. So if you just change one tire at a time, you just need a couple guys. It saves you money with crew members also.
I suppose, but I'm all for competition yellows where, all right, pit, get your tires changed, you go back out the way you came in. Don't put the pressure on and get somebody killed on pit road. That's my view.
Now,
Sam's laughing. He's like, people died.
Now, as far as the race itself, really healthy car count. 27 cars. 28 were listed. Rowan Pennick had to withdraw as a result of an injury he sustained earlier. A lot of local flair in the race. Joe DeGracia, local driver, had some help and support. In fact, was awarded the Hard Charger Award.
I believe he won a similar award in Legend Cars a few years ago.
Yeah, which is pretty wild.
I think it was at Wall, oddly enough.
I'm not sure. I know you usually.
He did run Legends at Wall a handful of times.
The only downside of winning that Hard Charger Award, it kind of shows that you qualified poorly because it goes by how many positions you advance. So if you advance a lot of positions, that means you started towards the back. So that means you qualified poorly. That's the only weird thing.
Or you found your setup.
Mike Stefanik said that when you're at the banquet, he got the Hard Charger Award for the year. And he came up here and always said, he goes, I guess I better qualify better next year.
Yeah.
Did he say it was BS? Very worth throwing out there. We had some other locals in there. Now, Scott, was this Myrtle Beach? Is this the track that had the seashells in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
When pavement is made around here, we have stones in it and rocks and stuff like that.
Glass.
Down there, glass.
Eric Brennan's beer bottles.
Down there, because they're by the seashore, seashells are available. So
Sally sells seashells down by the seashore. I'm drunk and I can still say it. And there's a cat on Scott. Now,
Scott, I give you full credit. I don't know how you're keeping it so cool with Nancy.
Nancy
I've been with her 16 years. I know exactly what she's going to do before she does it.
For those of you who may end up watching this on
it.
YouTube, you're going to be fully entertained because Scott's getting all sorts of distractions
whiskers?
thrown at him. And now, one of the big stats that jumps out at me from the race at Myrtle Beach, Matt Hirschman led the most laps at 77. 11 different leaders in that race. That's incredible. I mean, it sounds like it was a really competitive event.
It's a fun race on one side of it, because you get that people pitting with different things. Matt got a penalty in the pits. He pitted outside his pit box.
Oh wow!
I think he probably would have finished better than he did if he didn't get that.
Was there a reason for it? I mean, was it as simple as missing the marks, or was it more guys around him tough to get in?
The pit road there is very tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just hard to see Matt make a mistake like that. He's usually flawless. He usually doesn't make any mistakes.
They did talk about Tony Hirschman on the Fox broadcast over the weekend.
Right. That is not Matt's dad. Scott established that for us as well.
Well, Tony Hirschman is Matt's dad.
But not that one that we've been referring to. Now, John McKennedy ended up getting the win. Then he backed it up with another win the following day at Caraway Speedway in a race that I think only had 10 to 12 cars. But nevertheless, going back-to-back in any modified race at two different tracks is a big deal. Jimmy Blewett, as we call him, Showtime, ends up with a runner-up position in what was described to me as a car that was entered under the Eddie Partridge banner, but it was, in fact, a Blewett-prepared car. I'm not sure how...
It was a Blewett-prepared car that Eddie Partridge gave Jimmy.
Right. So Jimmy kind of had and his guys had their hands on the car and getting it ready, and Blewett himself, even though he didn't lead any laps in the race, was in contention all the way up to the very end. And Jimmy, we're proud of you. That was a heck of a run, and you just kind of keep your fingers crossed that something's going to be able to present itself to allow him to run the rest of the tour races, as he's going to be in that 6 modified while Ryan Preece is off running the Xfinity stuff for Joe Gibbs Racing. Matt Hirschman led the most laps, ended up in 3rd. Long Island driver Dave Sapienza 6th. Timmy's driver Eric Goodell got 7th. And another New Jersey driver who I think really had a rather impressive run was Calvin Carroll, ended up finishing in 8th. That's a pretty strong run for that kid. What I think is only his 2nd year or 3rd year in modified racing for Calvin. He never competed at Wall, to my knowledge, so that's not a bad ride.
He hired a top-notch crew chief this year. And it really showed. They did very well.
And the guest we were hoping to have on here today, Blake Barney. Blake Barney.
Blake No-Show Barney.
Blake No-Show Barney. 11th position in the family-owned team, and it was cool seeing that car done up with the Wheel and Modified logo across the top of the windshield. Blake just seems to do that. We talked about it earlier. That kid just seems to have the ability to show up someplace. I know he had Ryan Boyle, Nick Shaw, his father Robert, his grandfather Dick. A few other people were there trying to help him out on the efforts on the week. And he just seems to have a knack for picking up on this stuff. Now, Tim, obviously, Eric's been doing this for a long time. Eric Goodell, that is. Do you have to warn him a little bit when there's a new kid on the block, or is Blake turning some heads, really?
I was talking to Scott about this yesterday. Blake did very well.
Mm-hmm.
Blake he would ride the tour races with me when he just wanted to go to watch, so I got to know Blake pretty good. He's a good kid. He doesn't walk around with that chip on his shoulder thinking he's the next superstar. He's good. He asks a lot of questions to drivers and stuff, and I think that's where he picks a lot of it up. As far as Eric knew that he was a rookie. Like I was telling Scott, when Eric was right in front of him, and I didn't give him any room. I was clearing Eric early, knowing that he's a rookie, and he's going to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's respect that you have to earn, and he earned it. He didn't go in there and spin him out. So now Eric knows he could run with him. So he did very well.
I'll tell you guys one story about Blake. I had the opportunity last summer, midsummer, just to randomly grab Blake and another modified rookie from Wall in Ricky Collins, and we took a trip up to Thompson on a Wednesday night, and we caught a tour modified race, some other stuff, and Blake. There were two things that stuck out to me. One of which was he saw veteran driver Wade Cole, who still shows up at the track in a modified pickup truck with some wooden planks that he's able to kind of lift the modified race car up on top of and tow it.
It's called a Ram truck, Eric.
There you go. I'm a talker, not a mechanic guy. You should know this by now.
We're going to get deep here, guys.
So there you go. So he has this. And the minute that Blake saw him strapping in his car, he's like, oh, my God, that's Wade Cole. I love Wade Cole. And he takes off running after him, just start talking to him. And, of course, Wade knew who Dick Barney was, and they started to have a little bit of dialogue between the two of them. And then when it came time for them to strap into the car and to get ready, and Nancy, I hope you have wine for me. When it came time for him to strap into the car and get ready, well, the drivers, that is, he said, I want to go watch the drivers get strapped in. I want to go see what they're doing. I want to go see who they're talking to. I want to see if they're talking to the crew chiefs before they get. Blake is so emotionally invested in what the drivers are doing specifically leading up to every action that they have before practice, qualifying, and race time. I feel like all he's doing is just being a sponge and absorbing as much information as he can. And, Tim, as you said, he really appreciates the opportunity that he has. I mean, he understands the position he's in, being the grandson of a legendary modified owner in the Northeast, and he's not going to take advantage of it. And that's something I love about this kid. And as I watch him, continue to accelerate his racing career and watch him do well, I'm proud of him.
I want to say that we've interviewed him, I believe, twice at live shows, and that's why I was excited to have him for, a regular studio type show, and he ditched us.
Nope.
But I mean, overall, he seems to be a pretty reserved, quiet kid. I say kid. I mean, I have respect for him. Okay,
he's going to get ID'd for a long time.
Yes, yeah,
a long time.
We've got babyface Brennan over here. But I have respect for him. But he is, on the younger side. And, I mean, he's in good equipment. Let's keep that in mind. He's definitely in good equipment. He has a lot of good people, a lot of knowledge surrounding him. But he is a hell of a driver. He's smart. He doesn't, like you said, like Tim had talked about, he doesn't get cocky about things. He tends to be very shy, but he does take in all that information. And, he's smart. He's smart about how he goes about it. And it's great to see him doing well, and I think he has a bright future. I really do.
And this is his time to shine. His grandfather's given him 4 races. He's given him the first 4 tour races to see how he does. If he does good in these 4 tour races, his grandfather's gonna let him keep going. If they start wrecking cars and running into some stuff where it costs a lot of money, and Blake's not doing well, they're going to stop after 4 races. So Blake's got to be aggressive, but also cautious to make it from race to race. He wants to do good in these first 4 races so that the family team keeps going.
An 11th place finish is something to really hang his hat on in his first tour
especially with 28
race.
cars there. We just said there was a large field there, so I mean that's a great finish.
I think Thompson will be a better test for him because of tire management and everybody just riding around.
Yeah,
not taking anything away from him. He ran right in the pack all day and never had a problem.
How many finished, if you don't mind me asking?
They all did.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, they all did. Someone was saying nobody dropped out of that race.
Ken Hagee got into an altercation. I don't think he finished.
Or Woody Pickett, too, didn't he?
Yeah,
the 82?
Yeah, he spun on the front stretch. If he came back out or not, I don't know.
I mean, it's just one of those things. I know that, even light contact can rip suspension parts, out. And, that ends a day real quick. So, I mean, it's being fair.
Only one car failed to finish. And as Tim mentioned, it was Ken Hagee. Even though Woody Pickett was involved in an incident, his car was running at the finish. As a matter of fact,
Blake finished 11th out of 27 cars that finished the race.
And
that's great.
20 of those 27 were on the lead lap at the checkered flag.
So, yeah, that's not small potatoes right there.
No, he did very well.
Now, Tim, at Myrtle Beach, that's an older racetrack, and they don't race totally full seasons there. How is the facilities? Is it holding up well? How's the spotter stand there?
The track's cool. I like the track.
But
it was a nice track in 1970.
Okay.
They have plenty of grandstands there.
The lampshades are plaid.
It's You
They
know,
got posters of the Brady Bunch up still.
it wasn't dirty, like, you know, and all that stuff. It was well maintained. It needs a little TLC. The spotter stand is like made out of wood. You would put around your pool or your deck in your backyard, and it was moving and shaking. And me being as big as I am, I'm like, oh boy, this thing's gonna collapse.
This is it.
This is it. But, luckily it held up. I do like the facility, and they do sell bologna burgers there. So it was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good.
So from some of the aerial views they show of the racetrack, they show that there's houses pretty near the property.
Yeah, they're over there going into turn 3. It looks to me like a trailer park or something.
So it looks like an older development where you don't think it would cause a problem with the track maybe shutting down because the houses.
No,
are
I
getting
mean
too close up.
besides that, it's like pretty much like, you know, there's a Lowe's right next door or a Home Depot or something, and there's car dealerships right in front of it. Like, it's more commercial than residential.
Now, how close are you actually to the beach from the racetrack? Are you really close to it, or
that I don't know? I've never seen the beach. There is a cookout restaurant 4 miles from there.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Cookout.
I don't need the beach. Just give me the good food.
It looked like they had a great crowd there, though. Was it a good?
The parking lot was definitely full of cars, but like I said, the grandstands are huge there. There was a good count. But you know, visually, it didn't look like it was full.
I want to know.
Did you notice what the prices were or anything? Or was it affordable to go to that racetrack? Was the food affordable?
I know fried bologna sandwich and French fries and soda were $9.
Bailey is cracking up right now. I love it.
I just want to know: do they throw the yellow if the spotter stand collapses?
No, they just keep racing.
Well, I think was it Daytona practice when the lights went out? You know, years and years ago.
Oh yeah, well you had to throw the yellow then.
Actually, I was surprised how well you could still see, at least with the irises opened up on those cameras. But you know, you think about it. I remember they lost at Wall one night. They lost control of the our red, yellow, green lights.
Yeah, we had a power failure at Wall 2 one Turkey Derby. I remember that during a limited late model race.
I didn't see the lights go out around the track, but I know that when that happened, they were calling for the yellow over the radio, and all the emergency vehicles put their lights on, and all the drivers said, "Okay, something's up," and stopped, or slowed it down. And it's it's one of those weird things that you might need maybe a provision in the rules for, or one of those driver safety meetings, like, hey, if this happens, because it's not a perfect world, as rare as it may be, something just kind of addressed just to avoid future things, and because of how reliant, especially with those containment seats and everything in the modifieds and the way the drivers sit, it is more difficult to see than, say, our factory stocks. That the spotters are a big deal, and it might be a good idea to say, "Whoa, we lost the spotters." They all.
It would be interesting though to see how it all panned out. So the tour, the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour has a break until April 8th.
How'd you pronounce it?
Wheeling, not whaling. I'm keeping it that way because these drivers are wheeling these things. The Wheeling Modified Tour is off to the Icebreaker 150 at Thompson. I really wish they had that race on Easter like they have in years past. That was my thing to do on Easter Sunday.
No, Sam wouldn't be allowed to go if it's on Easter weekend. Mom Ballard would not let him take off Easter to go racing.
Or his sister would have another baptism or something ridiculous.
Exactly. So
hey.
So that will be April 8th at Thompson Speedway, and we will continue to follow those stories as we go forward. On a more local side, Wall Stadium still has Tech and Tire scheduled this Sunday. I'm sorry, I say this Sunday. I meant this Saturday, March 24th. Tech Open and Tires available for purchase from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. I blame it on the goose. Got me feeling loose. Office open for paperwork, and the food stands will be serving breakfast and lunch foods as well. Is that Nancy laughing on me?
Yeah.
Was she laughing at what Eric said, or did she find something?
I have no idea.
At Eric.
Nancy thinks I'm funny. Yay.
Looking.
Now, New Egypt Speedway had a couple things planned. It was their March meltdown. They ended up deciding to scrap this. I cite this from the New Egypt Speedway website and Facebook page. Quote, Mother Nature certainly hasn't been a race fan the past couple of weeks. Multiple nor'easter storms have left New Egypt Speedway ground saturated, forcing the Ocean County D-shaped oval to cancel the March meltdown scheduled for this Saturday, March 24th. Quote, with the amount of rain and snow that has been falling the past couple of weeks, it would have been nearly impossible to create a safe, smooth, and racy surface for our competitors. competitors, and that is according to New Egypt Speedway's Joey LaQuery. We don't want to see people tear up cars for no reason so early in the season, so a decision has been made to now focus their attention on their March 31st event, when New Egypt Speedway will be hosting a free public practice session from 12 to 4 p.m. Whew.
The public can go?
Yeah, anybody can go.
All right,
I don't understand.
Bring
though,
your street
if
vehicle.
If it's called a meltdown, what is snow when it turns? Snow melting is water.
Sam's
They
still
should be-
stuck on the snowman.
I don't understand why it's not a meltdown. It's just bad marketing. It should be like the winter heat up.
No, it's because their jet dryer at New Egypt was sold at auction. I was there. I was going to bid on it, but yeah, 10 grand's a little out of my price range, or it might have even been higher than that. Yeah, no, seriously, it was at auction. Had a tag on it, everything. I was there.
Is anybody racing on Easter this year? Bridgeport used to do something. Well, that was usually due to rainouts.
Sam's going to be racing to the church.
Josh, you stole right out of my mouth, man. We've been doing this for too long.
Josh,
anyway, Bridgeport.
There you go. Josh, you want to point out Bridgeport's got some stuff going on this weekend as well?
Bridgeport is going to have open house practice on the. Well, Scott originally thought it was all 3 tracks, but he has since amended that to the 5/8 and quarter-mile tracks this Saturday. So get on out there, practice. Lee Allen's going to be out there getting ready to whoop everybody's butts. Scott's going to be there, right?
No, I'm hoping. I do have 2 plans. The Bridgeport practice is my B plan. But if the weather holds out out at Grandview Speedway, I'm going to be racing in the Outlaw Enduro Series this weekend. We have a 100-lap big car race, which is the 8-cylinder Enduros.
So you're probably going to be up against Lee Allen there, too.
No, Lee said he's going to the practice at Bridgeport. Lee,
really?
So I asked him if he was going out there. Yeah, he's got that new Outlaw stock, and he wants to go get some laps on it with the 5/8. So I plan on going to run the Outlaw Enduro Series, which is the old Neats Enduro Series, Josh.
Right.
Just with a new name, new ownership, new name. They're having an 8-cylinder 100-lapper, a 4-cylinder 100-lapper. They also have a ladies' race where the ladies can get in the cars and drive them.
Yeah, see that, Eric?
And they have a 50-lap junk car race. So it's definitely a fun weekend. Plus, they have the Blast from the Past Vintage Car Series. They have 2 15-lap features. I'm hoping the weather holds out and they don't cancel it and the track's in good shape. I'm definitely going out there Saturday. My brother and his family hopefully can come out and watch me too. It's going to be a great day. So if anybody's in the area in Grandview, out by Grandview Speedway in Pennsylvania, it starts at 1 o'clock. It'd be great if you guys can come out and watch
I missed the Enduros at Wall.
You should really start doing it, Josh, again. I mean, you got that car. I think you
that car.
Yeah, that car. You still have that car.
You know what I wish they would do again is the road course at the drag strip.
Oh,
yeah. Englishtown? I went to one of those. That was a good time.
Yeah, that was fun. Scott did it. I spotted for them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, Englishtown.
Well, Sam, you and I got a pretty big weekend up ahead. However, I'm kind of worried because I may still be hanging around in the tri-state area by the time it kicks off. World Karting Association, second race of the calendar 2018 season. This one's at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm pumped. I'm hyped. And Mother Nature's got me down right now. What's going on?
I like this now.
It's going to be a great event. We start at 8 a.m. every day. Check out World
8 a.m. Eric Brennan will never make it at 8 a.m.
No, because I room with Eric Graham, and I get a personal dilly alarm clock every time that I fail to wake up.
You guys will be starting at 8 a.m. Eric Brennan would be strolling in about 9:30.
I get there on time. I'm just not awake yet. I'm usually still recovering.
For more information, check out worldkarting.com, my Facebook page at Sam Bauer Jr. For more information, trying to be serious here, but dilly.
Dilly.
We got some cool stuff coming up, not this episode, but soon with ATQMRA, the 3/4 midgets, because they have a big schedule this year. We're going to be talking to them and setting a few things up. We have a few things coming up with Ted Grow and Evergreen Speedway, because they're getting ready for their season opener as well. Granted, they already had the Mark Madness Enduro,
right.
But when they're not Enduro season, because they basically get separated. I believe April 15th is that?
Yes, because I may be a guest announcer at that event.
And we're going to have Ted Grow on. We're looking at possibly doing a little
I'm telling you, Wall Stadium's opening day is April 14th. You're not making it to Mountain.
By the time we close Woody's, I could turn around and get to Evergreen by at least 7 a.m.
I'm not.
Because after Woody's, you'll end up somewhere else. You'll end up at somebody else's house.
I think Elliot's guest room's taken.
Yeah, and the sun will be coming. You'll be like, you know what? Evergreen's not going to happen today.
I'll be there, Ted. I'll be there. Mark my words.
Yeah, but I'm not a drinker like Eric Brennan.
Not yet, you're not.
I want to say a quick, I don't know if you mentioned it before, Jeff Gravatt, the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club. That's harder to say than, anyway, Hall of Fame induction.
Yes. Yeah,
so congrats to him.
A couple of guys were able to get in. It's an annual ceremony that is headed up by a bunch of the guys from the Garden State Vintage Stock Car Club. And I always think it's cool when you see an organization like that honor some of the people who don't necessarily drive. Maybe I'm biased. But it's cool to see Jeff get the nod. And I mean, listen, yes, I work with Jeff on a weekly basis. Yes, I love Jeff, like he's family. But I mean, the guy between the press releases for Wall, all the editorials he puts in the weekly programs,
and the ARN and other stuff like that.
The sponsorship packages. I mean, like the guy eats, sleeps, and breathes the sport of auto racing, and along the way, he sustained a wonderful marriage and
he
raised
had a classic car for quite a while too. I think he was recently.
Oh yeah, he figured out a way to make this his life and flourish in it, and he was honored with that finally with the Hall of Fame induction. So congratulations, Jeff. And
everything's great.
And we'll see you soon. That's all I got.
I also want to Al Voorhees, who's Voorhees Race Prep and does a lot of work on the area race cars and setups. He actually won the Garden State Vintage Club Championship for the racing portion of the club, where they still take the cars on display and everything and race them. He actually won the championship, and he was honored at that same banquet.
Isn't that a little biased? I mean, not him, but I mean, some of the guys that have much older cars that they definitely don't want to damage them. I know Jack Patterson. He'll get that Pinto out there, and he wants to run some laps.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It wasn't really on performance where you finish in the races how they chose a champion. It was actually by attendance, and and Al Voorhees made every single event with his car.
Wow!
So that's how he earned the championship was by making the attendance. It doesn't really go by where you finish on the track.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so it was by attendance. It's a great club. I mean, it really is. I actually joined it this year at Motorsports. When we were up at Motorsports, I signed up for the club. It does make you feel old when you join that club and they give you the card and your name's on it. But it is a great club. It's a great cause. And I hope to be in that Hall of Fame someday myself. And I keep reminding the president, Ray Shea, of that every time I say him. I'm like, are you paying attention? Are you paying attention? I'm up to 78 wins. I really want to be in that Hall of Fame someday. So that's a little running joke I have with Ray Shea. It is a great
bragging
club,
camp going.
Maybe I could be one of the youngest inductees in that Hall of Fame one day. Maybe.
Also,
Scott's like, I'm not touching that.
I think Jeff Gravatt would be a great guest on our show on the RPM podcast. Maybe we can look into trying to get him on the show one time.
He might actually show up on time.
He would. He always shows up. He always gets. If Gary Larson was here, and Gary, I love you. I love you to death. Gary would show up. He would do the important stuff, and then at the end of the night, he'd find a local tavern around the area to go hang out in.
With me.
Yeah, he calls the mods, calls the sportsmen. And it's like, oh, you guys got it right. All right, cool. I'll
Does
see you
he
in a
get
while.
flagged, Nancy?
So.
Did I get flagged when?
No. Does Gary get flagged? Because I know you do.
Yeah, we already know you do.
I don't know. For other people, I can only speak for myself.
Maybe we can get Nancy on for the entire duration of the show, Scott. That'll be.
I asked her today. She didn't want to come sit with us. So.
Well, because she didn't want to be the backup plan to Blake. So I mean, I don't blame her. She's got to be option A. She always is.
She's always Scott's option A.
Of course.
I better be.
It just popped in there.
With that, I don't know where to go from here.
What you learned? What you learned?
Well, we have to do that, but I want Bailey. Is there anybody you got to thank? Silence. Hear that, Dad?
Thank Dad.
Who's your sponsors? Tell them.
Riggleman Towing.
Which we're still waiting for this year's check, by the way.
To the mail.
Who else? Keep them coming.
Dover Power. Calabrese Motorsports.
Where do you keep the go-kart at?
Jimmy blew it.
Grandpa?
Grandpa blew it. Spencer Davis.
Yep. Off access?
No, thanks.
Ryan Flores?
Ryan Flores.
Waddell Communications?
Waddell.
I feel bad. We're putting her on the spot here.
She's got to learn.
You're doing good.
Yeah, if you're winning that much, you have to get used to it.
Riverhead Building Supply?
God, she's got more sponsors than me.
Riverhead Building Supply.
LRD?
LRD.
Freeman Hotel?
Freeman Hotel.
Which used to be Richie Evans' hotel.
Really?
I can't count that high.
That's a lot. You guys funded for life? Or
and they're little cars. How do you put all those sponsors on those little cars?
I get hero cards made.
Yeah.
Here's a. If you're watching on YouTube, it's yeah. For those of you not on YouTube, I'm holding a picture. I'm holding her hero card up to the
while
camera.
we're talking about Bailey, we've never talked about her. How that all happened? She was telling. I guess it was off air. She was telling you how she drove a go. She goes, Daddy, I want to try to race. So I called Jimmy. Jimmy, they have go karts that they run around the junkyard, and I'm like, you can go try that first. So we get there. We get to the hut, and the go kart's there, and I'm like, okay, Bailey, here it is. And she's like, no, I'm not ready yet. As soon as Jimmy Blewett walked through the door, she's like, I'm ready now. So she gets in it, and Jimmy's like, brake gas, pull a thing, and she started racing around. And she was like, I want to race. I'm like, you sure? You want to race? She's like, yes. I went to Monadnock Speedway that weekend, and Cecily was there, but I was spotting for Goodale. And I'm like, Cecily, you know anything about champ carts? He's like, no, but Bernie does, my crew guy. And Bernie's very good at the champ carts. He's like, he'll hook you up. I'm like, okay. So 2 days later, I get a picture text of a champ cart. Cecily's like, here's your champ cart. I'm like, well, how much is it? He's like, don't worry about it. He's like, here's your champ cart. So he got it. He bought it to Bernie Olander's, which is Olander Race Prep. His daughter raced.
Oh, yeah, Gabby.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Gabby. Yep.
So he's kind of taken Bailey and Alexis under his wing. He does more than enough work for us, and he does all the setup and everything. And just all those sponsors are, I've met a lot of people in the last 25 years tour racing, and thank God that they're supporting me, One we did forget was Joe Pelham. Can't forget Joe Pelham. He helps us out, too. Goodrich with all the lines. Break lines.
Tim, with the Sunday
Do you want
series,
the hero card so you can read them off?
Hey, Tim, with the Sunday series, for people listening that might have kids and want to do something like that, how much does it cost you on an average to go to the track on a Sunday with your two girls and two karts?
It's $100 to get through the gate for mom, dad, and the two girls.
Okay. Is there entry fee for the kart itself when you race?
Well, yeah, but that's all included in that $100. Okay. So however you want to break it down, it's affordable. Not knocking what they do over at the quarter midget track, but it's affordable. There's no shocks, there's no springs, and you go on. There's online, like on Facebook. There's people that buy their kids go karts and they don't want to do it. And they've got $5,000 in these go karts and they want like $2,500 for them. If I could buy every good deal, I'd have a whole shop full of carts.
You'd be like Hartwig.
Yeah. So it is affordable, and Alan Brenner does a great job with the kids. He deals with me being cranky every week when I'm.
I want to say Alan's another guy that seems to live and breathe racing. Yeah. I mean, he was doing a lot of stuff at Englishtown, as well as between the Sunday series and the Saturday nights at Wall. Sam has to put up with him all the time.
I love Alan.
I love Alan.
So do I. I was just teasing. I was just making sure Sam's awake.
Like we first went there, I knew nothing about any of that, and Alan was very good. They take the kids down on the golf cart for the first time and get them used to everything, and then they place them where they go, and then that's it. And then they start the race.
Now, Bailey, how do you like racing against your sister? Do you want to beat her more than the other competitors, or are you happy if she wins and you finish second, or how do you like racing against your sister?
I like racing against her, but the only thing is that once I get up on her, I can't pass her.
Maybe someday you will be able to.
Now, have you guys ever gotten to know each other before, or that hasn't happened yet?
That hasn't happened yet.
It will happen.
Now, if she's coming up on you, can she pass you? Or is she having the same problem you are?
She's having the same problem that I.
That's a good thing.
You got to remember too, Bailey and Alexis are running against like Mark Rogers' kids out there, Jimmy Blewett's kids out there. They're all in the same division. Like, she's racing with all the future of Wall Stadium, you know. And Alexis never had power carts or nothing like, you know, the kiddie carts like the Lightning McQueen, the battery powered cars. They never had anything.
Yeah.
They got right into these, and Alexis is pretty good. Alexis can drive, and unfortunately, she's not into it. Bailey lives, breathes. She wants to be a race car driver. She's more of a points racer. She'll get to third, and she's happy. She'll stay there. Like she said, she'll get to her back of her sister, and she'll stay there. But that's why she finished third in points. So she's more of a points racer, where Alexis is more of a
Trust me.
for the
take care of
trophies.
your equipment. It's
It's
well, Scott knows. I mean, the what was it? My second year, I got fourth in points, and it's all because Hartwig loaned me a car one night. I mean, I finished somewhere in the back, but I ran that race and I got those points, and that helped me get fourth in points.
Now,
for the year.
really quick, I just want to. There's a lot of people, relatives and stuff on Facebook. Bailey has a Facebook page. It's BQR Racing on Facebook, and they're like, that people that don't know racing, like, it's dangerous. Why is your 8-year-old kid out there? But she has a next gen.
They need halos. They should have halos too. And
They have a
Look at this.
page.
Look at this. They have really high up halos.
And she has a next gen, which is like Honda's device, like Scott wears. She's got the best helmet we could get her. She's got a good fire suit. And then, you guys know, like, John Russell is like the best safety guy. If, God forbid, if something happens, I'm glad that John Russell's there because he knows what he's doing.
He's incredible.
Yeah. I'm thankful for all of them. Chrissy is there. Everything's well run.
Billy, do you like the other halos, the little oranges?
We just bought a crate of them for the snowstorm.
Get the bread, milk, and the halos. That's what you need.
The halos. We love them, man. We live off those things.
Well, Bailey, we wish you the best of luck going in 2018. I'm sure that we'll have you back. And Tim, you getting ready for the icebreaker in a couple weeks?
Yes, sir.
So.
I will be there. Yes, I will.
All right. On that note, what have we learned today? I'm going to start with Sam.
I learned today that Nancy Riggleman should be the host of the RPM podcast. She's quite entertaining, and Scott is a saint being able to
put up with her. Is that what you're saying?
No, to be able to not laugh his ass off while she's messing with him throughout the show because I can't contain myself. It was hilarious watching her today.
That's great. Bailey, what did you learn today?
I learned that
Uncle
You don't have school tomorrow because of the weather?
Yeah.
You learned that Uncle Scott hasn't given us a check yet?
Oh, that's priceless.
You want me to come back to you?
Second one from Aunt
Okay. Tim, what did you learn today?
I learned two things, that it snowed a hell of a lot more down here than it did in Little Silver, and that the Wawa by your house doesn't carry the Monster Energy drink that I like.
They don't?
No, I didn't tonight.
It's a smaller. It's not a super Wawa. It's a ghetto Wawa. Sorry.
It's a ghetto Wawa.
They're actually called legacy Wawas. The older style Wawas without the gas stations and stuff are called legacy Wawas.
Oh, I call them ghetto Wawas.
Like,
I mean, I love mine, but it's
but they're called legacy Wawas. They call them.
I learned today.
Scott, what did you learn today?
Bologna burgers are very affordable at Myrtle Beach.
Nancy, since you're hanging in there, what did you learn today?
I learned about legacy Wawas.
All right, good.
That's what I learned.
Bailey, did you figure yours out yet? What did you learn?
I learned that Sam can't contain himself.
Wow.
Yes. I can't wait to tell Claire.
I was going back to real quick. I'm sorry, but I was telling you how this Bailey she lives and breathes racing. Mm-hmm. Like, we went over to Jimmy's the other day, and she walked in the shop, and the 6 car is sitting there, and she's 8 years old. She goes, "Daddy, why is Ryan Preece's car here?" Like she knows.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she knows that.
Yeah,
whose car is
she's
what.
not just playing along. She's actually into it.
Yeah.
I can't even keep up with all that. Eric, what did you learn today?
I learned that Blake's new nickname is the Flake, so he's Blake the Flake Barney. So, sorry, Blake, we love you, but I don't know where you are. In fact, I hope you get home okay, because you haven't – he just said, I'm just getting out of here a little while ago, and Blake's a great kid, but he's still got that little squirrel mentality where if he sees something, he's going to go chase it.
He responds to you almost as much as Stephen Reed.
Yeah. Oh, happy birthday, Steve, and in case you didn't get my text, just saying, love you, don't beat me up.
That all?
Yeah, that's all I got.
That Bert didn't come hang out with me.
Anyway, I learned that Sam likes D-shaped tracks.
There you go. Not my waitress from Beacon 70.
I learned that it's not the size of the hair. Again, Sam. I thought it was. I learned that I thought it was longer. The tobacco ban. Anyway,
I feel like that was yesterday.
They were big and they were hot. Thank you, Tim. Eric grabbed Blake.
I probably did. I mean, I don't know when.
And most importantly, I should have started with this. We got nothing on Jerry Koenig.
What would happen to him?
I don't know. He just said that, the RPM podcast has nothing on his show.
I saw that on Facebook. Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't see that.
Jerry has a show?
Friday nights.
He just makes comments on Facebook. And
all I see him say is, "Where is Tim Magic?" That's all I see every week, and I think I'm having like a hallucinogenic experience. I'm like, is this deja vu for me again? Did I drink too much whiskey tonight?
I have no idea where that started, so I'm not even going to try to come up with anything. But yeah, so we have to work on our game, and so either we get Jerry on the show, or I don't even know where to go. So
Jerry's a good time.
He is fun.
Josh, do you plan on dusting off your race car this year and bringing it out this year? Or
I do plan on it. It's not going to be for opening night. Trust me, I am so excited for Wall this year and opening night and all that. I'm going back to work soon, so
Good to hear.
I need to get my ducks in a row. I need to get money sorted out.
The reason I asked is because me and Nancy are going through our tires this year. Do you want me to hold some tires for you and give you some of my better old tires?
Absolutely. I need to start somewhere, and I'm just learning these tires a little bit thanks to Tim O'Shea.
Tires last year that got 150 or 200 laps on them, which are still good.
Only.
Well, no, they're good. I mean, the left sides can go 200, 250 laps.
I run like 350 on them.
Yeah, I mean, they do last.
Yeah, absolutely. If you would do that, it's greatly appreciated. I need to get my motor pulled. I need to get my frame straightened, and
Jesus.
Yeah,
I need to get my motor pulled too. On that note,
yeah. How about your frame? How's that doing?
Frame's doing okay for now.
Okay, enough of that for now.
Bailey's there.
Oh my goodness.
Nancy trying to keep it PG. Thank you. All right, folks. Thank you for listening. Please, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe. We can use that. If you're listening on iTunes, please go on there, subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a review. Those reviews help tremendously. We are working on a Patreon account. We're going to do some extra segments and specialty things and have a lot of fun with you guys. We're trying to make this grow. I mean, we have a great local following already. We just want to expand, and we want to make your experience better. So if you're enjoying it, if you're not enjoying it, tell us. Please email us, message us on Facebook, Twitter. Sam, where can they reach us?
TheRPMPodcast.com, Facebook.com/RacingPodcastNJ, at the RPM Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and any other form of social media. We're on SoundCloud. Like us on SoundCloud. Subscribe.
Don't forget our website.
YouTube.
TheRPMPodcast.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube, like y'all said. We're pretty much everywhere, folk. We're like an ex-girlfriend that you don't want to see. You can't get rid of us.
And on a serious note, by the time many of you will be listening to this, it seems like we got some really bad weather coming our way. I want to wish you all a very safe Wednesday. Looks as though a lot of us are going to be getting around a foot of snow. For everybody traveling to the World Karting Association event in Mooresville, I want to wish you all safe travels. Hope to see you all there on Friday morning. If not, we will see you when we get there, unfortunately. So
I want to give a quick special thanks again to Bailey Riggleman for joining us here. We're probably past her bedtime at this point.
No school tomorrow. She's all right.
Time to party
Even
then.
better. Even better. You're going out to eat after this. All right. Tim Riggleman, thank you for making the drive down here all the way from Little Silver down to Waretown, New Jersey in this weather. Scott and Sam, screw you guys. You're comfy in your home.
We're home in our warm house already, so we're good to go.
And in fairness to Blake, he was trying to get here, had a commitment beforehand, tried to hold up to it, and he got out of there pretty late. So
we'll try again next week, or maybe we'll try to book him for after Thompson, after the icebreaker. We can do the recap. With
and
Thompson.
Scott, if your doorbell rings after midnight, it's probably just Blake.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's
I'm here. Let's do the show.
It's going to be Eric, actually.
I can make it. I see you.
Bring whiskey.
I will.
Oh, God. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for listening so much. Have a good week.
It's all you. Take it home, Josh.
That's all I have.
You're doing a good job. Keep it going.
Again, thank you guys so much for supporting us through all this, and we'll see you next week right here on the RPM podcast.
Good night, everybody.
Go to Wall.
Please come back.